This is the Horse Radio Network. This is Horse Tip Daily, episode 112. This is the special Christmas episode. Enjoy, everybody. Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and this is Horse Tip Daily. Well, today we have something very special for you. I got together earlier this week with all of my co-hosts for the various shows that we do here, all the full-time ones, Samantha Clark, Chris Stafford, and Helena B. And we had a little roundtable discussion about the holidays and about the shows and about what the past year and what's coming up in 2010. And we thought you would enjoy that, and we're putting this out across all the shows today. So you only have to listen to one show. It's Christmas time. You shouldn't have to listen to 12 different of our shows. So we thought we'd save ourselves some effort this week, being that it's Christmas, and we'd save you some listening power. You only have to listen to one of the shows. It's going to be a lot longer than usual here on Horse Tip Daily, but we think you'll enjoy and maybe gain some interest in some of the other shows that are out there as well. I want to wish all of the listeners of Horse Tip Daily a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back again next Monday with 3 new tip shows, and then back on the full-time schedule again in January. Thank you again for listening. Please do write to me. We want to hear from you at glenn@horseradionetwork.com. So right now, here's our special Christmas episode from the Horse Radio Network. This is Glenn the Geek from Lexington, Kentucky.
And this is Helena B. in Boston.
And I'm Chris Stafford from Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'm Samantha Clark from Lexington, Kentucky.
And you are listening to the Horse Radio Network. Well, hello, everybody.
Hi.
I don't know. Have we ever done this before? Where we're all on
Yes.
remotely at the same time?
Not remotely.
Well, not remotely. We did it. Don't you remember? We did it after Rolex.
We were all together.
Decompress. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to introduce everybody in case we have a lot of listeners. This is a special episode that we're doing for the holidays, and we have all of the full-time co-hosts on here. And what we wanted to do was put this out on all of the different shows, one that gives all of us a break next week. We're recording this a little early. And we want to wish everybody a happy holidays. We had a little Christmas music lead us in there. But I want to introduce everybody. We have Helena, my first co-host on the Stable Scoop show, up there from Boston, Massachusetts, in New England in the United States. Hi, Helena.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Chris from not 3 miles from me here in Lexington, Kentucky, who does the eventing and the dressage radio shows. Hi, Chris.
Hi, everybody.
And we have Samantha, the last co-host to round out the group, doing the 2010 radio show from Lexington, Kentucky. Hi, Samantha.
Hello.
And it seems like I spoke to all of you just yesterday, and I think we did record some shows yesterday and had a lot of fun. Well, I did want to introduce everybody because there'll be some listeners who haven't heard the other shows. We encourage everyone to listen to more than one show. They're all good, and you learn something on every show you listen to. And I wanted to thank all of my co-hosts for a great year. Our listenership at the end of this year is 7 times what it was at the beginning of the year. And that does not include having thehorse.com on board, which brings a whole new group of listenership that I haven't received the numbers on yet. So it's just been a fantastic year. And I just want to recap all of the shows a little bit. I'll start with you, Helena, because we were the first show, the Stable Scoop radio show. Mm-hmm. We've gotten to talk to some fascinating people this year.
Yeah, we have.
It's
lot of them.
It's just been so neat, the different people that we've gotten to talk to and the different topics we've gotten to talk about. And of course, that show covers a wide variety of topics. And is there a highlight for you for the year?
The Twitter episode was fun because we got to involve. It was almost like having the listeners come in. on that when we had 4 minutes for every guest.
And we had 10 of them on that one show.
I know. And that was, it was fast and furious, but it was nice to hear from real people. So I think that one was one of my favorites. I loved talking to Gina Miles earlier in the year. She was one of our first big name guests, and it was like talking to a rock star as far as I was concerned. It's like, oh my God, I'm talking to Gina Miles. Don't mess it up. I had this little thing going across my screen. Don't mess it up.
Well, one of my favorites, of course, was the Horse Husbands episode, which is still one of the most popular episodes. And that was a lot of fun. I mean, we did some different ones, and of course, Horse Love 101 and all those fun ones we did along the way.
Yeah.
So we had some great times there. Well, Chris, you do 2 different shows, and I don't know. It's going to be hard to pick what were highlights for this year from the shows.
It is hard to pick because we had such a wide variety of guests on both the dressage and the eventing radio show. I think probably my highlights from the eventing radio show would be the quizzes, the grooms quizzes.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked to a lot of people, and, I've been blessed to have been in the sport for so long that many of these people I know, but yet we got a different angle on it, with, for example, the couples series as well. And, being able to use this vehicle, this medium, in a way that hasn't been used before, that's what's been so much fun, I think, for both the sports. And in dressage, I'd have to say all of them have been interesting because I've had a great selection of co-hosts. As you know, we started off with Heather Blitz, and then Debbie McDonald and Lisa Wilcox. Of course, Reese Koffler joined us for a couple of episodes, and then the conversations that I've had with the riders that have been co-hosting the shows with me, they've been coming on as guests, as you know, Glenn every other week, both on dressage and eventing recently, and that's a new dimension to the conversations, and that's been a lot of fun doing that, especially with dressage, where we'll talk about a whole range of topics, which, as you know, I'm really passionate about, and in the sport. So, that's great. And unfortunately, I've known these co-hosts for a while. I've worked with them in the past, so we have a good kind of synergy going on. And we do hear back from our listeners how much they enjoy that aspect of it. So.
And I think that you're right, absolutely right. One of the things that I have liked that has grown throughout the year on both shows is by having the new host, by having me bail out of eventing and allowing some real eventers to get on there. It really, your conversations about topics and subjects and training methods and everything has gotten much deeper throughout the year. You've gone much deeper into those topics and conversations, and I think that's really what's appealing to people.
It is. It seems to be an added value. I think it's one thing to do those interviews to find out about people and, what they have for breakfast. And you'll remember Ginny Elliott on one of the eventing radio shows said, what was it? Listen to what you had for breakfast or something.
Yes, right.
Or, something like that. That will inform, how you're going to ride cross country, if you've got nerves or not. I think, those sort of touchy-feely conversations are always interesting to the general public who don't get to hear from the top riders. But there's also an enormous appetite for education, for tips, to know how these top riders do things, because they all do things differently. And there seems to be an insatiable appetite for that, which hopefully we're able to deliver. And I'm enjoying being part of that conversation with them and being able to deliver that to an audience obviously is interested in so many different aspects of the sports.
And, we have listeners now, if you combine all the shows, in over 37 countries. There are people listening. India is one of our fastest growing countries over the last couple of months. And who would have thought? But we thank all our Indian listeners. We appreciate that. We love to hear from our listeners from around the world, too. We'd love to hear that. And then there's Samantha. Samantha, you've been having more fun doing the 2010 radio show and the WEG show than I could have imagined you would have.
And me too. And I do. I look forward to taping it every week. And I thank you for that, Glenn. I've been loving it. And I think I would say that our Spotlight riders, I never imagined that we would have so much fun and that they feel like a second family to me.
Well, and they treat us that way, too. They love coming on the show, and they're all excited when we call. And if we don't call in a certain amount of time, we get emails from them saying, why haven't you called me lately? So it's been fun. And, we just started that sort of on a whim as something to do, and all of them are doing pretty well. It looks
They're doing really well. I was worried that it might be the kiss of death once we started following them and that they might crash and burn. But so far, touch wood, they're doing really, really well, and I couldn't be prouder of them. And I love keeping up with them and emailing them. And we've found out personal things with them. We've become attached to them, and I'm thrilled. I couldn't be happier. And then we've also had chatting with the champions, which it's a whole other level, which has been very exciting. And like Chris said, finding out little sort of quirks and things about the higher level riders that you wouldn't necessarily know, and that's been exciting.
One of the things we're going to be doing on that show that is kind of exciting starting in January is 2 of the recordings every month that we do are going to be on locations we would like people to visit or that we recommend they visit when they come to the games. So we're going to be going out to our favorite restaurants. So we're going to be going out to tourist places. We're going to be one of the first stops we're making is the Woodford Reserve Distillery.
This is just an excuse for
surprise.
You guys.
And we also have
We're looking for free food and drink on the road. Yes, we are, Chris.
And I think I enjoyed the test events. They were fun too. And we have the big test events coming up at Rolex, so that'll be a big week for all of us.
Yeah, we'll be listening everybody's help for that one. I have to thank you guys. You have been absolutely wonderful. You certainly don't do it for the money. None of us at this point do it for the money. Hopefully someday we'll be doing it for the money. At least that'll be something as a bonus, because we do this because we love it. Chris, when you called me, all those, what seems like a long time, it is a long time ago now.
It was last winter, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you said, let's do this eventing show, and let's just make it a Rolex show, and then we'll quit. And here we are, a year or over a year later of doing the eventing show, and now you're about to do Rolex again. So it's,
well, we are, and then, of course, that will be a kind of combined event. And I wanted just, when you mentioned the location shoots, we've had 1 or 2 opportunities to do that. Of course, I was at the USEA convention, and I think being out there in front of people makes us real for a lot of people that are listening. And I was also at an event last weekend where people were coming up and saying hello, and they're now beginning to identify with us as it's something that they relate to every week, or if not every week, they tune in from time to time. They know we're here on all the shows. They know we're here, and they know that we're going to be on the airways every week, and that's nice that recognition is coming about. And of course, what the other nice thing about it is that guests are coming to us, potential guests, riders, and people involved in the sport are actually contacting me and said, "Love to be on your show." So there's a recognition there that obviously takes time, but I think we're getting there, Glenn.
When Helena and I started, what? Oh, geez, Helena, what are we at? Episode 70 now or something like that?
7,000 maybe. Sorry,
All right, Helena, we've been doing this for 70 weeks and you still can't turn off your phone.
I really can't. I can't turn on my phone. I can't turn off my phone. I'm just useless.
Well, we started
I think
this.
I killed it.
Yeah. Sit on it, Helena.
I really... But wait a minute. I've been at this the longest.
I know.
Not even 70 episodes.
When we started this 70 weeks ago, we just thought it was going to be a fun little thing that we did. And then I really wanted to do the World Equestrian Games show. And I guess I did that alone for about 40 weeks. And then Samantha graciously came along to help. And I really did not imagine that things would go the way they have. And Chris, what you said is that these shows and that the hosts, all of us, including your part-time co-hosts, have really gained a certain amount of respect. And I think that's partly because of the way we respect our guests and the subjects at hand. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's why?
Well, I think most importantly, Glenn, what we've got here is a totally new medium for many of the people out there that are involved in the sports, or either as a spectator, as a fan, as a participant at whatever level. They've not had this medium before. We've had audio interviews here and there from competitions, but they haven't had the collective show that we're putting on for the different disciplines and, for all the shows. It's not been there. And it just gives a new destination, which people are embracing now with new technology. And of course, we have to mention it. Thanks to Skype, this is possible. Without Skype, we wouldn't be able to do these shows the way we do.
Yeah, people ask if we have fancy studios. No, we're pretty much all in our bedrooms with a microphone.
That's what makes it nice, and I think we do approach the interviews with a certain kind of respect that isn't very common in media across the board today. We don't have an ulterior motive. We're really just interested in getting to know our guests, getting to know what motivates them, sharing that information. It is uniting the horse world.
And that's interesting, Helena, because I don't think you guys even knew when I have a mission statement for the Horse Radio Network, and we've had it really since day one, and that is uniting the horse world one show at a time. And that when Helena and I talked about doing this, we said we want people that are eventers or dressage people or Western riders or whatever, listening to things or listening about things that they had no interest in before, but after they listen, they go, oh, that's pretty cool. And that's what we mean by uniting the horse world. And I think I had somebody come up to me who's going to remain nameless, but let's just say she's a very famous dressage person, come up on Friday night down at the event in Florida, and we chatted my ear off for half an hour. And she said at the end, you're doing something with this radio network that needs to be done in the industry, and that's uniting the horse world, the different disciplines of the horse world, and putting them under one umbrella. And nobody else has been able to effectively do that. That made me proud. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but...
Absolutely.
Well, as I could say, it's a vehicle that wasn't there before. That is a uniting vehicle, and those of us who've been in the horse industry a while know how fragmented the horse industry is. Everyone sticks to their silo mentality of their breed or their discipline, universally. And I think what we have here is something that can, get our arms around the whole industry. And there are so many things that have crossed platform interest, if you will, from tips to personalities for trainers. There's a whole range of components that make this forum, so interchangeable. And I think to your point, that I think this is exactly what we're achieving, and it's exciting to be part of that because, as you guys know, I've been in equestrian media for longer than I care to remember, and I've never had this chance to do this, to embrace the whole of the horse world in this way, and convey our messages and talk to guests in this way. Normally, for my part, I'm at an event, I'm covering or remotely covering a competition, and you're interviewing people, and you have an angle. And as Helene says, we have no angles here. We just want to talk to everybody and tell their story in a very friendly way. And if I can just add to that, when you ask about what one of the best shows, my favorite episodes this year, I think on the Dressage Radio Show, I think it would have to be with Isabel.
Yes. Let me just clarify that, Chris. It was also one of the most downloaded shows of the year and most listened to shows of the year.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's interesting. And, I've been interviewing Isabel and watching her compete around the world at major competitions for years, since she's been competing at this level. And she always comes across in a very focused way, very serious. She is very serious, and she's very dedicated and very professional when she's at a competition. But there's a softer side to her. And not least of all, now she's a mother. And we talked to her when she was pregnant, towards the end of her pregnancy. And I think it just adds another component to her that people don't see. There is a warmth there. And what I tried to do was bring out the humor and the warmth. And, I hope I achieved that. And it did come across for me professionally as one of the nicest interviews that I've done with any dressage rider, and not least of all a German dressage rider. And so yeah, if it achieved that, then I did what I set out to do.
We had Monty on the Stable Scoop show. Lena was out a couple of weeks ago, and Darcy filled in with me. And one of the comments that Debbie, and we had both Debbie, Monty's daughter, and Monty on the Stable Scoop show with us. And by the way, Monty was a rock star over the weekend down there in Florida. He was just
We should remind people with the Florida event that Glenn's talking to is the Succeed Wellington Classic Dressage USCT Gala fundraising event, which took place in Wellington, Florida, Friday and Saturday night. And Glenn and Samantha were down there enjoying it on Friday. And then I commandeered Glenn.
Yeah, she put me to work. She had me run sound on Saturday night.
That's right, and it was a lot of fun, and that was speaking to our unifying message, guys. I think that was a unifying event, bringing different breeds and disciplines and interests together, much in the way that the principle of WEG was established to do that, to bring the different disciplines together, so people are talking to each other that otherwise wouldn't have a conversation, and that I think was what was achieved at that gala event, which will be repeated next year. So when you watch Monty Robert go in the arena with Courtney King Dye, and what he did on the Saturday night, Glenn, was hysterical.
It was. He was trying to mimic. Courtney was doing her dressage thing with her fancy warm blood, and there Monty was with his championship reigning quarter horse, about 14-2 hands.
It was a pas de deux. Just for those of you who weren't there, and if you weren't there, you will get a chance to watch this on equestrianlive.com shortly, and it will also be televised on HRTV in February. But just to explain, what Monty and Courtney were doing each night was a pas de deux. So each would do their routine and alternate, and then when towards the end on Saturday night, Monty saw an opportunity to mimic Courtney, so he did his routine, then she came back and did her next piece, and he followed her around the arena, and it was absolutely hysterical.
Seeing him try to do his flying leap changes.
It was so funny and so spontaneous. It was, and Courtney trying to be serious and, do her passage and piaffe and, all.
She was cracking up by the end of it, though. She was watching him more than she was paying attention to her riding.
She was looking over her shoulder, absolutely. And we should also point out that if Monty needs a second career, he has one as an auctioneer.
Oh, yes, he did a great job. He sold a Mini for, what, $6,000?
He told me that. Glenn called me from the road and said, "You're not going to believe this. Monty just somehow auctioned off a Mini for $6,000.
It was amazing. And, when you had the likes of Stephen Peters out there dancing to Templeton Thompson doing a country dance at the end of the show, it just was a great time. What I was trying to get to too is Monty made a comment too, to get back to our previous point. He said, that was one of the most fun interviews I've ever done. We didn't talk about his training methods at all. We just had fun talking. And he said, that was just one of the most relaxed, fun interviews I've ever done. And he's done a few.
We get that a lot from our guests, that they start out kind of stiff and on guard, and then after the first 10 to 15 minutes, you can physically feel them. It's the change in their demeanor is tangible. They just suddenly relax. They start blah, 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 talking about all the things they never thought they were going to talk about. And it really does become a very relaxed conversational tone. And I think that makes these people more accessible to the listeners. That's the key to uniting everybody, is feeling like these people. Like Samantha said, the more you talk and the more conversational and relaxed everybody is, you really start to connect.
And speaking of connecting, one of the groups that we've connected with and been very happy for over the past over a year now, is our sponsors. We've had some tremendous sponsors and support. People have been with us since the beginning and have enjoyed being with us and have stuck with us. And we're just going to take a moment now and let one of them speak to you.
Hi there, everybody. This is Chris Duggan at Equestrian Collections, and I'd just like to take brief moments of your time to wish you all a super Merry Christmas this year, from me and also from all of our staff here who are still being very, very busy Christmas elves today. But by the time you're listening to this, hopefully we'll all be back at home with our feet up and returning to doing some packing, which after the thousands and thousands of boxes we've packed, maybe we won't do the Christmas wrapping. But I just wanted to stop a moment and thank you all very, very much for buying from us, for being our customers, also listening to some of the episodes that we've done with Glenn on products. So I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday.
Well, we're back, and we appreciate, as we said, all of our sponsors. We appreciate their support. Really, we couldn't continue to do this without them, and they've been a big help. There's one show we haven't mentioned yet, though, and I have to bring it up. It's Horse Tip Daily. And, you guys know when I started this, I said, I'm going to start this silly little show where we're doing tips every day. And Helena said, "Are you nuts?" And
it's not a silly little show anymore.
No, it isn't. It's like we had in 2 months. It's grown to over 5,000 listeners, and it's like, wow. Okay, well, I guess I have to do this silly little show every day now. It just has turned it, and I think it's because it's 8 minutes. I have some really engaging people on the show. There's some really cool experts that have come on the show, and it's different every day. One day we'll be talking about taking pictures of your horses with a world-class photographer, and the next day we're talking about you and Lisa talking about how to, your seat when riding dressage. So I think it's so varied every day. That's what people have really taken a liking to.
Yes, I think, and because it's so short, Glenn, I think that's what people, it's just a very quick, 5-10 minutes even?
Yep.
Is that about average?
Yep.
And I think that's what appeals to people, that it's quick. It's quick and easy.
The shortest one was one of Max Cochran's tips. The whole show lasted 2.5 minutes. With me talking and Max doing her tip, her tip was 45 seconds, and we were out of there in 2.5 minutes.
I feel a tagline coming on, and it involves 2.5 minutes.
So most of these experts, though, I can't go. They can't stop at 2.5 minutes. It's just. And I had last week 3 new experts come on board, and they were all referrals from previous experts. So isn't that cool? I mean, that little show has just taken off. So if you haven't listened to it, it's at horsetipdaily.com. I had to just brag a little bit about it.
Oh, quite rightly. It was a great idea, and it's funny how it's taken off. And, of course, you're able to harvest tips from all the different shows from our eventing radio show.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Could you double the royalties on that?
Okay, yeah. I'll double the $0. What'd you say, Sam?
I said we're bragging about the Horse Tip Daily Show, remember?
Yeah, but I get half my tips from her. I do appreciate that. Well, now let's talk.
We sponsor our own shows.
Yeah,
how does that work?
So let's talk a little bit about the holidays.
Yeah.
Does any of you have any horsey memories of Christmas or New Year's? I know I'll start here. My wife was in Pony Club for years and years and years and graduated from Pony Club. When I first met her, she still was actively involved with helping out with the pony clubs. And one of the things they did for many, many years, we were in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And Carlisle, Pennsylvania is the home to the Army War College. And it's where all of the officers train for how to do war. And most Army officers go through there at one point or another. Well, every year they would get together with the barracks there, still had horses, and some of the old colonels and stuff still rode. Some of the old cavalry guys at that time still rode, and the Pony Club would get together with the cavalry guys, and they would do Christmas carols throughout the housing part of the Army War College. And the people there just loved that. They would come out on the porches and they would clap. It just was that thing that they looked forward to every year. So there'd be 40 or 50 riders singing Christmas carols for an hour or two. And many times that I went along, it was snowing. They would do it in the snow or whatever and would do it every year. And it was very popular. It was just one of those special things you remember. And that particular thing involved horses. Anybody else?
Yeah, I remember asking for a pony for Christmas for like 30 years. Not getting one.
My daughter thinks Santa's bringing a pony, but she's going to be sadly disappointed.
Oh, no. No pony for the daughter this year.
And I do remember the Christmas Eve and Boxing Day meets hunting with all the ponies decorated with tinsel, and that's always a fun meet.
So did you guys hunt at Christmas?
Christmas Eve or Boxing Day, but not Christmas Day.
Okay. Now, what's Boxing Day for those of us in America?
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas.
Okay. How did I get
Why
the name?
is it special?
Yeah.
Because it's another day off, and you get to sit around and digest and have a hangover, and I don't know, watch the jump racing on television, and go hunting or go to the meet, or I don't know.
All right, we'll take it.
It's just sort of lengthens the holiday out a little bit more.
And we've talked about on all the shows really before about how in England, when you grow up in Pony Club, you really hunt also. That's something that really goes hand in hand, doesn't it, Chris?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah, Boxing Day hunts are as much about the social side of fox hunting as anything. Everybody gets a glass of port and a mince pie, and it's a really big family affair for people that with their families for the holiday season. They'll come out to the Boxing Day meet as part of a tradition, and lots of pony clubbers out that day too.
I think it's a big deal to put tinsel in the mane when you plait your horse's mane. Put tinsel in and tails, and on your hat you put. I think it's sweet. They're all decorated. And I actually we were at home for England in England one year. And we went to one of the meets, and the kids can play with the hounds before they all move off, and everyone's saying Happy Christmas and having drinks, like Chris said, and sausages, and it was just nice. I miss it. But they're long days. You meet at 11, and you'll hunt till it's dark, and then you have to try and find where you parked or remember where you parked. And I remember always being freezing cold and getting very tired by the end.
Where you parked, Sam? Where you parked? What about those of us who never had any transportation and had to hack all the way home, cold and wet and exhausted and lost and dark? And not all of us had the luxury of being trailered. But that was part of the fun too.
Yeah, Helena has had that fox hunting, haven't you?
Oh my gosh, sweaty too. Don't forget sweaty. So you're hunting for God knows how long, and then you get nice and sweaty, and it's 25 degrees, and you and your horse are shivering the whole way home in the dark.
Yeah, and then I also remember riding horrible young horses for people, and they jig-jog the whole way home. That would drive me crazy.
Worst. That's the worst. So your arms are tired, your seat's tired.
And all you want to do is, yank it in the mouth and swear at it.
Get off, kick it, walk home.
Exactly. Leave it.
I have one holiday memory that I was not hunting this time, but there was a fellow, it was a joint meet, and there was a fellow who was very jolly, and he had to be, he was a large fellow, and he'd had more than his share of port. And they had come to a bridge over a small creek, and there were stone walls on either side. And the poor fellow had ridden his horse into a lather, and they stopped at a check, and he was laughing, and he was totally drunk off of his butt, and he leaned to one side, and his horse was so sweaty that his saddle and his girth, everything just kind of slid with him, and he just dumped himself on the ground. And I said, "Oh gosh!" I said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he just sort of laid there in the brambles and said, "I'm all right. I just need a minute." And he laid there. And I thought, oh my goodness, is this really what hunting is all about? And it took about 5 people to help this man get back in the saddle. But bless his horse, this tiny little thoroughbred mare, he got back on her, and she took him home. And when people say, I've seen horses as designated drivers, this man couldn't do a thing. He just got on his mare, and she said, right then, off we go, back home. And she took him right home. She took him right home. And I thought, well, that's a holiday memory for him, if he can remember anything.
Probably not.
Guys, this has been fun. Let's talk a little bit about what you have planned for our individual shows for next year, for 2010. Obviously, 2010 is going to be, we'll start with Samantha, because really 2010 is all about the World Equestrian Games. Can you tell us a little bit about what we have planned?
Yep, we'll be getting regular updates from our spotlight riders as they ramp up their preparations and their selection trials. And we have the test events for dressage, show jumping and eventing coming up at Rolex. There will be the selection trials and the qualifiers. And then, of course, 2010 World Games, September 25th.
We'll be recording every day from the 2010 World Equestrian Games. And Sam, don't forget to mention again that we'll be on the road getting free food and drink for the whole next year.
Free food and drink. We'll be on the road getting free food and drink.
Just wanted to bring that up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be doing more with the Chatting with the Champions, past champions from the World Equestrian Games as well along the way.
Can I switch shows?
You can come and join us whenever you like, Helena.
Okay, sweet.
And Chris, you got 2 of them. What's planned? What do you see down the road for eventing and dressage?
Well, I think we'll be getting different guest co-hosts along the way. Obviously, the focus, it is a championship year, as you all well know, with the World Equestrian Games. So a lot of our focus in the 3 Olympic disciplines will be on WEG for those that obviously are heading in that direction. But, when you have to remember that it's just only 4 or 5 people on any of those teams that actually go, and there's a whole world out there beyond the team riders, and those are the people that we will cater to as well from every level of the sports. And we look to build on that, really, and, to have more and more interesting guests from right across the country, right across the world, which we've really enjoyed doing, so we're catering to our audiences internationally, and that's been a lot of fun. So you can look out for more guest co-hosts joining me on the shows, and a lot of interesting topics and new segments. We'll be introducing new segments too along the way. As we get a lot of responses from our listeners, and questions and they sort of provoke ideas that we should explore. So the shows will all continue to grow. That's, I think, part of our mission here to, as we've said earlier, is to reach out and embrace and unite the whole of the horse world. And while our shows are specialist, we are blessed that a lot of our listeners actually listen to several of the shows, don't they, Glenn?
Yeah, that's the response that's been amazing throughout this year. And we're hearing from more and more listeners, and you can email us anytime. But is the number of listeners who say they listen to all the shows and want more. And I write back to them and say, I think that personally that's way too much me you listen to. But they do. They listen to all the shows, and we'll get them to say, I'm an eventer and I'm listening to dressage, or I'm listening to the World Equestrian Games. And, we get people on the Stable Scoop show that are Western that are listening to the English shows. And that's just cool stuff. That's just really neat stuff.
And I also want to be doing more of those quiz shows, which were so much fun. And we've
because I get to get out the bells and whistles.
You do. And you love that part, being the sound effects guy, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And Chris, I wanted to strongly encourage you to keep doing tips every week, because I do like stealing them. So keep that up, all right? Don't drop that off on me.
All right, I won't do that. I'll provide you with plenty of fodder. But yeah, the tips, the quizzes that we're going to be doing already are going to involve some rematches, and we've got some new contestants that want to take on the reigning champions. So there's going to be more of that on the Eventing Radio Show, and we're also going to transfer that concept to the Dressage Radio Show down the line there. So look for that over the winter. It's a quieter time for all of our disciplines, of course, over the winter, and so we'll be building up these new segments. And as always, we love to hear from you and really, really want to know what you want, because we'll listen, and we'll obviously do what we can to deliver. But I want to take this opportunity, Glenn, to personally thank my guest co-hosts that have helped me along the way here this year.
Yes.
On the Dressage Radio Show. That's, of course, Reese Koffler joined us for a while after Heather Blitz was our first guest co-host. And then more recently, Debbie McDonald and Lisa Wilcox. So a big thank you to them. They're a great bunch of girls, and they've had a blast doing it too. And on the Eventing Radio Show, we've had Jenny Brannigan and Boyd Martin.
My buddy Boyd.
And they've both really enjoyed it. And just this week on the show, or I should say last week, would be Max Corcoran.
She did a great job.
She really enjoyed it. She has a great radio voice.
Yes, she does.
And of course, knows her subject very well. So Max is going to be joining us more. So we'll look out for
she's the groom for Karen O'Connor. So, yeah.
Correct. And those of you who listen to the Eventing Radio Show will know that Max has been a guest on, in fact, 2 of our quizzes. And she's all ready for a rematch, Glenn. She and Karen are going to be taking on Jan Binney and Lizzie Williams. They're all ready to take them on.
Well, good.
But of course, Boyd wants a rematch too.
Yeah,
Boyd was stolen.
Boyd thinks it was stolen. He thinks I pretty much cheated doing the scores. Boyd's never going to talk to me again, I think, pretty much.
Well, you know his new nickname now, what I call him. I call him Taffy.
Well, yes, and you have to listen to that show to understand that. And Helena, this all started with you, and we'll end the wrap up here with you. We got some fun stuff planned for Stable Scoop for the next year.
That's all we do. Fun, fun, fun.
We had a really good show last week. I wanted to mention it again. We had Rupert Isaacson on, who is the father of The Horse Boy. He wrote the book and the movie, and it was just so. I could have talked to him for 6 hours.
That was great. That was a great interview. He's a fascinating person, and his and Rowan's story is fascinating and touching.
Well, we have some, as usual with Stable Scoop, we're going to round out the horse world. We're going to cover a little bit of everything. We did this past year, but next week we're having on somebody who is from Horse South magazine, and Tess is her name, and she is doing the top 50 most influential women in our magazine in the horse world, and she's covered the top 10 this year, and she's going to review with us the top 10, and we're going to go over those with her. We thought that would be a good year-end episode, and what's interesting is several of them have been on the Stable Scoop show. So,
of course they have.
Yeah, so that's cool. Well, everybody,
I need to tease one thing, Glenn, before we wrap up here, because we're going to have a really special show on the Eventing Radio Show next week. We have got 3 legends in the sport coming on for a Legends Roundtable, and those of you who have been following the sport at any length of time will know that these guys are really it. That's Mark Todd, Lucinda Green, and Ian Stark. All 3 of them are joining me in conversation for a Legends Roundtable, so you won't want to miss that.
Well, that's great. Yes.
Even I know who they are. That's awesome. See, rock stars everywhere. The horse world is so full of heroes. I have to say that I think it's a nice thing that we're getting to know these heroes from all facets of the horse world.
It was interesting that you say that, because the listeners that came up to us over the weekend at that event, Chris, said the same thing, that you can read an article, you can read an interview, but until you hear them, you don't understand their passion and you hear their inflections, and you really get to know them as people. And that was the thing that impressed the one listener the most, is that I'm getting to know them as people. And I don't think you can do that in an article. I just don't think you can. You have to hear the voice.
No, it's all about the voice. If you can't see them, at least hear them.
Well, this has been great. We want to thank all of us want to thank our listeners for all the shows. You're what makes this possible. There are tens of thousands of you now around the world. When Helena and I started, we were talking to ourselves. It was, I think the first 3 episodes, we hit 10 listeners, and we were thrilled that there were 10 people listening to us. And we kept trudging on, and then it became 20 and 50 and 1,000, and now it's the tens of thousands. So
I do remember you calling me, and you said we had 12 downloads this week.
I know. We were thrilled.
We were so excited about that.
We thank all of our affiliates for carrying the shows. We have so many good affiliates now, and we want to mention, if you have a website out there and you have a horsey website, you can carry our shows. Affiliation is free. Just contact us and we'll get you hooked up. People can listen to our shows right on your website. We'd love that. And we want to wish everybody the happiest of holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. Enjoy, be safe. Enjoy your horses on Christmas Day. Go out there, give them a carrot, give them a hug, give them a kiss, and, give them the day off.
And this would not be complete, Glenn, without us thanking you, Glenn the Geek, for all the work that you put in behind the scenes to make these shows possible.
Absolutely. Thank you, Glenn.
Well, no problem. It's fun for me. This is a labor of love here. As I said, we're not doing this for the money. So we do it because we want to help, and I truly believe in the mission statement. I think Helena's probably known me the longest of any of you, and I think she knows that I believe in that mission statement, and I truly do.
Absolutely.
We love you, man.
Thanks, Helena.
Well, a big Christmas holiday wish from me to all our faithful listeners, because we really do appreciate your loyal support. It makes all the difference to know that you're out there and you're enjoying what we're doing. So my very best wishes to everybody, to all of our hosts and all of our listeners, and continue to listen, because we will continue to grow.
And on the count of 3, everybody, happy holidays. 1, 2, 3. Happy holidays.